All righty. Take two. Welcome to everybody. How's it going, Ren? For like the third time because I'm
Yeah,
the
yeah.
idiot who
It's going
I
good,
started
man.
the
Busy
show but
day.
didn't actually hit start broadcast. So my
Yeah,
bad.
it's
But
all good.
but yeah. So like I was saying, we were gonna just do a news recap or roundup or whatever. But I went down a bit of a rabbit hole with the history of CAIR because that seems to be in the news a lot recently, and I've been reading a few books about it. Um, and then it was timely that news came out that Texas had decided to name them a terrorist organization or terrorist
Mhm.
supporting organization.
Yeah, what I couldn't find was what led Abbott to doing that out of nowhere. It seemed like it was kind of out of nowhere.
So, I mean, it's been building towards this for a while, and we'll go through
Hmm.
the history together. Um, and I think this has been something Abbott has been. Well, I don't know about Abbott because I can't speak for him, but they did put out a document that I can share along with their kind of declaration and decision. But what it really stems from is its origination and then a legal case regarding something called the Holy Land Foundation that happened in 2008, in which CARE was a unindicted co-conspirator. Um, a lot of kind of what I have been working on, or like was reading into, is based on some articles in a book by a guy who's the named Lorenzo Vidino, Vidino, who's the director of the GW University Program of Extremism. Um, and a lot of the same information basically comes out of that trial.
Now, is this
So,
going back a few years that
this
this
goes.
was?
Sorry.
Well, what I was reading is they had been accused, like CARE and the Brotherhood of Muslims had been accused. I don't know if it was both of them. One of them or both of them had been accused years ago of being involved with so terroristic groups worldwide. And from what I believe, it was a few members of those societies were involved with terroristic groups, and that's where it kind of brewed from.
Um, yeah, I mean, essentially, but their kind of core when they started was an offshoot of a pre-existing organization that was named, kind of a terrorist organization connected to Hamas, um, called the IAP, the Islamic. Hang on, I have it written down here somewhere. I'm gonna mess it up if I don't double check it real quick. The Islamic Association of Palestine, which was established in 1981 and defunct in 2004.
Okay.
Um,
Let's
and I,
dive into this,
I started
man.
looking into this because of a lot of the kind of comparisons people will make between CARE and like APAC, um, or APAC and ADL. But essentially, what CARE describes itself as is a grassroots organization that solicits funding from the quote local community, um, and its primary goal is to deal with what they perceive as legal injustices and also lobbying for kind of Islamic values in the United States and needs.
Hmm.
Um,
They're like an advocate
yeah, they're a
program almost.
mixture
Yeah.
between a advocacy group and a like legal group. They will they see their goal as like I say kind of like standing up for Muslims and trying to advocate for Muslims in the United
Hmm.
States.
Yeah.
Um,
So what I'm getting is that it's more it's kind of like I don't know how much of a conspiracy it is. It kind of sounds conspiracy because I don't after doing some research, it doesn't really seem like it's a thing that's actually happening. It seems like it's like the fear of a Muslim takeover in the United States and I think it's more so on far right conservative, like radical conservative, to go down that kind of belief that it's like a whole cultural takeover. It just doesn't really seem to fit. But then there's some things that do stand out that, like, okay, well, I guess I could see why you would think that why it's going that way. But I don't know. It's really it's an interesting topic when you start digging into it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, here's a couple of examples of stories that are just recent. From June, Hamas linked, or sorry, whatever. I'll talk about that. But CAIR gave $100,000 to Zohran Mamdani for his election bid. CAIR argued that it's, and I'll read the quote, but essentially that vandalizing churches is free speech.
That was the
Vandalizing a
quote
church.
from CAIR.
Yeah, no, this is the quote from the director of operations of CAIR, Texas, in Houston. Quote, vandalizing a church property goes against the tenets of Islam. However, manipulating Texas hate crime laws to punish criticism of a foreign government while further eroding public confidence in expressing their freedom of free speech. While defending somebody who burned a mosque and flags, claiming it was or not a mosque, sorry, a church, claiming that it was, like free speech, speaking out against the, Israel stuff.
Wow.
The CAIR Chicago's executive director came out after Charlie Kirk's shooting, and this is a quote of what he said. Conservative commentator Charlie Kirk was shot dead at a live lecture at Utah Valley University. I despise much of what Charlie Kirk stood for. His supremacy, racism, and Islamophobia, his support and cheerleading for genocide, and his warped logic that ironically justifies his own shooting. I despise the fact, whatever talks about Israel and Palestinians. I cannot stand for a society that negotiates its political differences through violence. I cannot stand for the chaos of political executions. Moreover, much as I despise the Charlie's hateful views, I care for small children who I don't know. I care that he lost a loving father. Political difference can only be negotiated through debate. Yeah. But he opens it by saying essentially that, like I said, like I was reading, that Charlie Cook stood for supremacy, racism, Islamophobia, and supported genocide, and his warped logic justifies his own shooting. So you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth.
Now, who said this? Is this?
This is the executive director for CAIR Chicago.
CAIR Chicago. Okay.
Yeah, Ahmed Rahab.
Ahmed Rahab. Okay, I thought it was Edward Ahmed Mitchell.
I mean, that might be his like Englishization of his name.
He's the deputy director for the for CAIR, for the Council of CAIR.
Okay.
I mean, there might be actually just a few hours ago put out a statement on a news channel about, he was giving backlash back to Greg Abbott, letting people know that they've won 3 lawsuits against him already and all this stuff. And
yeah, I mean, CAIR California was giving $1,000 to students that were penalized for anti-Israel protests. There are 2 stories that I have that I see in the news that kind of pushed me into this a little bit, talking about financial irregularities related to CAIR, that money has gone missing that was from like federal government and things like that. Let me pull up this video real quick. I guess I can just show this. Sorry, bear with me a second. So this is one of CAIR, and this comes from like the Muslim Brotherhood kind of stuff. This is their director, a former CAIR Florida director, talking about, and this is one of their kind of moves, is to essentially say that they are trying to uphold America to its values. Hopefully this doesn't double play. I forget how I fixed that.
And Howcroft, is CAIR responsible for the Muslim only in Texas? And
Muslim only city in Texas. I'm sure they're connected to it, but I don't know for sure.
Yes.
All right, let me real quickly just mess with the audio sources on this 1 second. I apologize, everybody. I just don't want it to double play.
Where is it here? What was it? I think there's in just the last couple of years they did put like another almost 40 mosques in just Texas alone.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Right. Let me try hitting play on this, and y'all can let me know if it's playing double.
We need to be driven by divine guidance and loyalty.
Okay, yeah, it's playing double. Sorry. I know I figured this out before.
Technical difficulty.
Yeah, I had this figured out before, but now I don't know what I did to fix it. I can't remember.
Well, I'll ramble on to the crowd while you
yeah, sorry.
You get that going. On my end, I did do a lot of research on this. I kind of went down a rabbit hole a little bit. So in the opinion that it is a Muslim kind of takeover, I was doing some research to see why people would think that way. Now, when you ask Google how many, like what is the second, because obviously Christianity Christianity is the first most practiced religion in the United States. When you ask Google what is the second most practiced religion in the United States, it says Judaism. But how can that be? Because when you ask Google how many, let me see, where is it? How many synagogues in the United States are there? There's 3,580 synagogues. Now, when you ask, when you look up how many mosques there are, there's 3,967. So how do we have more mosques in the United States than synagogues, but Judaism is practiced less or more? So it's very odd. It's really odd seeing something like that, because you would think that Judaism would be a close second to Christianity. When you look at it, it's significantly lower, but it also has less synagogues, and there's more mosques, and it says there's less people that practice Islam in the United States. However, there's significantly more mosques. So it's like, and then you look at what happened in Texas the last few years with all those mosques just popping out of nowhere. And then you have the mayor of New York. And so there's a lot of things that feed you into the rabbit hole a little bit. So that's why I said earlier, it's a very curious kind of topic to get into, because I can see both sides of the argument here very well.
Oh, yeah, I definitely think there's a lot to be said. When you try and look into this stuff, the major news sources don't really provide a lot of information. Like Wikipedia, it's really hard to find the information on things like that of these people, because their Wikipedias have essentially been scrubbed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I fixed the audio. Let's see if this works better. No, it's playing double again. Hang on, one more.
Oh boy!
I just need to do one more thing.
Crowd interaction here.
All right, let me see if that did it. Can you guys hear that on the stream? Sorry, give me a heads up if people on stream could hear that. I might have messed it up a little bit. Let me go back to the beginning here. I think that should be what I needed to do.
That scene right there where he smacks his hand reminded me of the Borat when they're in the helicopter. 9/11.
We need to be driven by divine guidance and loyalty to push the country for the better. I'll be very candid. I say this. I'm going to say it. I'm sure right now, Memory and the Islamophobe websites are going to take this clip and blast it. They've already done it for one of my khutbahs.
Can you guys hear that now, chat?
Now I hear it. Okay. Thank you, Capone.
Okay. All right. Perfect. I'll just go back a second and I'll hit play again.
To push the country for the better. I'll be very candid. I say this. I'm going to say it. I'm sure right now, Memory and the Islamophobe websites are going to take this clip and blast it. They've already done it for one of my khutbahs recently.
Who knows? I might just do it.
You have, hey, my guy.
Go on.
And maybe Andrew will come and defend me in
Go
that
on.
time. But brother, ultimately, I say this: what excuse do we have as Muslims living in the United States, or even the UK or Australia, or any of these so-called Western nations, and paying tax dollars that are funding genocide?
No, it can't be heard. Yeah, I fixed it, but then I couldn't fix it. Or now
Well,
you
I
can
see
hear.
a few yeses, and then I see.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Without
They may
pulling it
not
up,
be on live time though. They may be looking.
they may be a little bit behind. So, I mean, what this guy is describing is he's describing the kind of CAIR slash.
It's good now. It can be heard.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, let's continue.
So, what he's describing is the sort of mechanism of how you use our own liberalism against us.
The UK or Australia or any of these so-called Western nations, and paying tax dollars that are funding genocide. The only excuse we have to do that is if we're living there to change the countries for the better. The number one priority we have must be dawah. It must be calling people to understand their creator, because when people understand their creator, it will change how they deal with their creation. That's number one. So I think number one is building the faith and the confidence within Muslims. Number two, dawah. And then number three, politics. Now they're going to twist this. Oh, they're trying to take over. I'm not trying to take over. We're trying to make America more representative of the ideals it espouses.
So I was watching a debate, and this is literally a tactic that the person took in the debate.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, what is he talking about? Where he says it's not a takeover, but it's like you're literally saying it's a takeover.
Yeah, this is the exact like talk, out of both sides of your mouth that they intentionally do.
We're Christian over here. You go do that there if that's what you want. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we're not. I mean, I would never condone going to another country and spreading Christianity. I mean, I think it's great, but if they have a main religion over there, I'm not gonna. How dare anyone try to do that?
No, 100%. Why would people want to come here if we are not their culture?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and so the conditioning for the culture to start coming over here would make sense. Like I said, there's 1%. Is in practices Islam, but we have all these mosques. So it's like, are they preparing? Is that what's going on here? It gets you asking a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Compassion, humanity, and mercy.
Justice and fairness,
That's
which they claim.
So I think the great thing that Muslims in America will be remembered for is actually preserving the very soul of liberty and justice within America.
Whoa.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like I say,
out like that.
That was the end of the clip. It's from a longer podcast, memory or however you say it. They specifically are like anti-Islamist Muslims, and they clip a lot of these Islamist stuff.
Well, here's the thing. It's in their minds, they're trying to spread. I mean, just like Christians try to spread, this is good. This is the way it should be. But they're taking it to an extent that no.
No, I agree. It's very disturbing. Let me just make sure. All right, so we're gonna go through a little bit of this history. I'll be reading some excerpts from an article by that guy from GW, but essentially, this is what the Palestinian Committee from the 80s until the 90s goal was. It had three essential organizations that split up and ran. It had the Islamic Association of Palestine, the Holy Land Foundation, which was a financially donation, claiming to do aid, and the United Association for Studies and Research, which was a think tank that it ran. They became under scrutiny by the FBI because there was concern that they were actively supporting, Islamic terrorism, specifically Palestinian terrorism. And, here's just an example of, they're very tied to the Democrat Party, but they're also tied to the Republican Party. So, for example, here's a whole list of, as of July 30th, 2025, CAIR being very proud to, discuss essentially that it has 27 U.S. senators that it got to vote again to block an arms sale to Israel, regardless of what anybody feels about the position. CAIR is very proud of it. They're all Democrats, but it's not just a Democrat issue. Find that picture
Bernie
real
Sanders.
quick. Yeah, he's great. Love Bernie. Come on, what's not to like? Here's George Bush. With get this picture. This is George Bush with
Senior?
W with Nihad Awad, who is one of the guys that started CAIR not long after 9/11, and they met in a mosque after the White House invited them to a press conference at the Islamic Center in Washington, the oldest mosque in D.C., and he testified in front of U.S. Congress and Senate Judiciary Committees on issues with Muslims in America. The Obama Director of National Intelligence, John Clapper, labeled the Muslim Brotherhood as secular. He's quoted saying, the term, quote, Muslim Brotherhood is an umbrella term for a variety of movements. In the case of Egypt, a very heterogeneous group, largely secular, which eschews violence and has decreed Al-Qaeda as perversion of Islam. In other countries, there are also chapters or franchises of the Muslim Brotherhood, but there's no overarching agenda, particularly in pursuit of violence, unless internationally. And yet, this stuff, is very clearly, was planned from the get-go. Here's another more, recent thing CAIR was so proud of. CAIR showing off CAIR helping to fund and run a emergency response training for ICE sightings. This is from June of this year in Anaheim, the CAIR, California. What to do if you're detained, how to legally observe, public versus private spaces in response to ICE raids. And again, people can have their opinions about ICE raids, but this is clearly an outside organization that claims to be an American, funded organization that there's questions about that being true, that has rot from its start. So we'll go back to the beginning, and I'll be reading, I'll read some stuff here about the history, and we'll talk about it. Why don't we get back to that picture of the groups for now? I'll make it a little bigger. So in 1990, Mohammed Abu Saad, he was a U.S.-Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood leader and one of the fathers of the modern Islamic banking. Together with other activists in the U.S., formed the American Muslim Council. It was headed by a guy named Al-Moody. And they became regular visitors of the White House. They had cordial relationships, like I was showing, with Republicans and Democrats, and they had meetings in Congress. Now, in the 90s, Al-Moody was a frequent staple in Washington political life. And, he was hanging out with leaders of all kinds of religions and all kinds of parts of the government. And so, to quote from this guy Vidino from GW, after extensive meetings, the Department of Defense put Al-Moody in powerful position of training and vetting the imams who would attend the religious needs of American Muslims serving in the military. His organization was praised by the FBI as, quote, the most mainstream group in the United States, and the State Department even appointed him as a goodwill ambassador, routinely asking him to travel throughout the world representing American Muslims. The Washington establishment considered Al-Moody a successful representative and moderate Muslim leader who could be a spokesperson and model for the American Muslim community. Well, here's the kicker. In 2003, he gets caught in customs in London trying to smuggle $340,000 that were illegally from Libya, trying to get it from Saudi dissidents to help support Al-Qaeda in assassinating the Saudi crown prince. He pled guilty to all the charges and was sentenced to 23 years in jail. The investigation also revealed that he had dealings with U.S. designated terrorist groups, including Hamas and Al-Qaeda, and the U.S. Treasury Department accused him of raising funds in the U.S. for this. He made comments that were public, supporting Islamists. For example, after the 1998 attacks perpetrated by Al-Qaeda against American embassies in East Africa, he said that they were wrong, not because of the attacks on the American embassies, but because African Muslims died and not a single American died. In Lafayette Park in 2000, he was speaking at a rally blocks away from the White House, and he proclaimed, "Hear that, Bill Clinton? We're all supporters of Hamas. I wish they added that I am also a supporter of Hezbollah." So the parent organization, the MSA, the Muslim Society of America, ends up talking about a civilization jihadi project. So let me pull some of that up real quick. So they had a founding document, essentially, that talked about, on behalf of the Muslim Brotherhood. Let me see if this is just large enough that people can read it if they want to. Actually, this comes first. So let me share this tab instead. So, hang on, Baxter's demanding the treat tax real quick. You must feed the dog and keep the people happy. So this is their definitions of like what their goals are. So settlement, that Islam and its movement should be part of the homeland it lives in. Establishment, that Islam turns into a firmly rooted organization on whose basis the civilization, structure, and testimony are built. Stability, that Islam is stable in the land in which its people move. Enablement, that Islam is enabled within the souls, minds, and lives of people of the country to which it moves. And rooting, that Islam is resident and not passing thing, or rooted and entrenched in the soil of the spot where it comes, and not a strange plant to it. And this comes from the explanatory memorandum on the general strategic goals for the group in North America from 1991. So the author is attributed to a guy named Muhammad Akram, or the who's also been called Muhammad Adluni, who was according to the United States government, allegedly a board of directors in the Muslim Brotherhood in North America. And all this stuff came out because the FBI raided them in 2004 and got all this stuff from his Virginia home, and entered it into evidence in the 2008 trial. The memo was written as part of this meeting that they had in 1991 that I'll go through some kind of wiretapping quotes that came out in trial, that proposed a supplement to a long-term plan approved by the council in 1987, and serves as the blueprint for their strategic civilization jihad in the United States, and essentially an internal plan for systemic influence on America. So this is where that the first portion of that quote comes from. So the process of settlement. In order for Islam and its movements to become, quote, part of the homeland in which it lives, stable in its land, rooted in the spirits and minds of the people, and enabled in the life of its society, and has firmly established organizations on which Islamic structure is built, and which the testimony of civilization is achieved, the movement must plan and struggle to obtain the keys and the tools of this process in carrying out the grand mission as a civilization jihadist responsibility, which lies on the shoulders of Muslims, and on top of them, the Muslim Brotherhood in this country. And then it goes through like what they call key tools. And this is one that sort of, this is number 4. So understanding the role of the Muslim Brotherhood in North America. The process of settlement is a civilization jihadist project with all the word means. the Ikhwan, and that means the Brotherhood, must understand, if I remember correctly from looking that up, their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers, so that it is eliminated and God's religion is made victorious over all other religions. Without this level of understanding, we are not up to the challenge and have not prepared ourselves for jihad yet. It is Muslim's destiny to perform jihad and work wherever he is and wherever he lands until the final hours come, and there is no escape from the destiny except for those who choose to slack. But would the slackers and mujahideen be equal? And it goes on to talk some more about this. But this is kind of their core identity statement. And then, another thing that came out of this meeting is them talking about, and that got shared at trial, is this is from a 1994 agenda that they put out talking about who worked with them or who they should work with. And if you look down at the bottom here, you see the IAP, the HLF, and CAIR, like I was showing before, and the UASR. These are the kind of three major organizations that they utilize as their kind of influence builders in America. So
disturbing stuff, man.
Yeah. I don't know if you're with me so far, or if anybody has any questions or whatever.
That is pretty disturbing.
But here I'll put up. This is the founders of CAIR. Nihad Awad and Omar Ahmad. So in 1991, this Muslim Brotherhood leader, Akram, who was running the Muslim American Society, holds a secret meeting in Philadelphia where they basically come up with the birth plan for CAIR. So this is from the director at GW's book and articles, but it's all based off of now FOIA requested public information from the 2008 trials that happened against HLF. And here I can share this. So essentially, the point of this, which might be hard to see on the stream, is that this is from the government exhibit, but HLF is all related. It's all family ties. So the leadership that starts it, you have people that are siblings, people that you have like Muma Abu Marzouk, who ends up being the Hamas deputy political chairman from 1997 to 2013, and then gets succeeded by Ismail Haniya, which, if anybody's been following the stuff in Israel, they would know who that is. He's the political leader of Hamas currently. But so at this 1991, this is all from the trial. In 1988, the head of the Palestinian section of Muslim Brotherhood in the Middle East traveled to the U.S., where he met with Muslim Brotherhood leaders, which was what produced the Palestinian Committee of Muslim Brotherhood in America, or a subgroup of the American Brotherhood made up mostly of people of Palestinian origin, which led to the formation of the Islamic Association for Palestine. Like I was showing before, they had this sort of pyramidal structure of the IAP working with the HLF, the Holy Land Foundation, and the United Association for the Studies and Research, USAR. So you have your political institution in the IAP doing lobbying. You have your financial arm in the Holy Land Foundation, which was originally called the Occupied Land Fund. And then you have a think tank who's trying to influence politics as well in the UASR. This committee was headed, like I said, by Musa Abu Marzouk, who, ends up becoming succeeded by Ismail Haniyeh in Hamas in their like direct political leadership in Gaza. Well, from Turkey and Qatar, not not really in Gaza, because these people live like kings while their supposed people are suffering under a quote genocide. So in a 1992 internal memorandum of the committee, they basically laid out what their vision for the Israeli-Palestine conflict is. And it's crazy because this stuff is still going on to the same way that they wanted it 20 years later. Quote, Palestine is the one for which Muslim Brotherhood prepares armies, made up of the children of Islam in the Arab and Islamic nations, to liberate its land from the abomination and defilement of the children of the Jews. And they watered its pure soil with their honorable blood, which sprouted into a jihad that is continuing until the day of resurrection, and provided a zeal without relenting, making the slogan of its children, it is a jihad for victory or martyrdom. And this is why I say, like, they're not really doing a great job of hiding what their, goals are.
Well, so they are to an extent, but so the reason I say that is because you say to just any normal person on the street and they're like, you're crazy. But then when you actually, but the evidence is right there. It's like it's so suppressed. It's like insane.
Well, that's why I say, like, I was looking into this and reading some of these books and stuff, and just because of what happened in Texas, now it's all over Twitter. A lot of the big like accounts that I follow are starting to talk about this stuff. I saw this account, Data Republican, drop 2 long threads about kind of the same stuff I'm talking about. So, the document that I was quoting from basically called on the committee to increase financial and moral support for Hamas, to fight surrendering solutions, and to publicize the focus on the savagery of the Jews. At that time, Hamas had not been designated a terrorist organization by the U.S., and that would be an action taken in 1995. So they were able to openly fundraise and propagandize for Hamas without breaking the law.
So I'm wondering if, like, Trump's aware of this stuff.
I mean, I hope some people in his administration are. It would really go. I think it would be a good thing for them to, kind of force CAIR to excise these people from its organization.
So
if
I'm
it wants to
wondering
continue to exist.
If he is aware, right? Maybe the Mexican border is just the excuse to get the ICE raids going, but really undercover, it's to get any illegal Muslims out.
I mean, look, how
many illegal Muslims could there be here? You know what I mean? Because it's not as easy as just crossing over a little river.
Look, if I as a nobody can find this information out online, within a couple weeks of reading a few books and researching, and there's a director of a program at GW that is actively writing books, speaking, and doing this, there's no doubt in my mind that the administration has to have some information on this.
They have to.
It's ultimately up to them. Are they going to choose to act on it or not? You know what I mean?
They may have to do so legally, which means, courts and all that. But, if you have, and here's the thing, I don't know why you would have left wing behind it, backing it up, unless their belief is to actually collapse Western culture.
I mean, I think we've kind of made that argument. Look, this mirrors the Yuri Bezmenov stuff, like we talked about before. I don't know if you remember who that is, and I was discussing it, but the Soviet dissident who was talking about how you destroy America from within, not from without. I think in a lot of ways we can look to different groups that have picked up that, that baton, and I think that these groups that we're talking about are a perfect example of somebody that's picked up that baton and is running with it. I mean, I was going to show this later, but hey, I'll show it now. This is Soros giving money to CAIR.
Oh my God. He's behind fucking everything.
Yeah, and so that's why I say, like, there's definitely some concerns here with who, is funding this stuff and why they're funding this stuff. And And the Obama administration, I was going to mention this later, but the Obama administration, the Biden administration, like they chose not to name this group a terrorist organization, and the Trump administration, as you pointed out, didn't either. So, I'm not really, it's hard for me to say what they're thinking behind the scenes and why they're thinking behind the scenes.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I guess it could be easier to, go into the cover of darkness, keep it out of the public's eye, and fight it in a different light. Who knows?
I mean, here's a video. It's obviously a clip, a freeze frame, but where Keith Ellison is the Attorney General from Minnesota, if you remember that name, who says CAIR stands for civil rights. This is the framing that they've taken, and like I was saying before, it's intentional in their, kind of even their founding documents that they should be a subversion machine. Mamdani, here's from 2023, him welcoming CAIR Muslim Action Networks and Bangladeshi American Advocacy Group when he was a state assemblyman before he ran for mayor. It's the more you start looking, the more all of this stuff is all subverted. It all ties together. It's terrifying. It really, on some level, is. I don't have a better answer for it.
Yeah, the puzzle pieces seem to just fall, by themselves. You keep going down the hole, and it's like, well, there's no more dirt blocking your path. You can just keep going with it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but every time I start looking into this stuff, there's stuff there.
Here's from what you're saying here, what you've kind of read off is it doesn't really seem like it's a conspiracy theory anymore. It seems more so. I mean, they're blatantly saying, "Hey, we're taking your country."
Here's an article where DHS met with CAIR on civil rights issues. CAIR Chicago. It's concerning, and I don't have a good answer other than, hey, we just educate people. I mean, we might not have a ton of reach, but at least we can educate people and they can educate other people. And to hit on what Snuggles said, yeah, Mamdani got a large percentage of the foreign vote, or the vote of foreigners in the United States living in New York. I keep saying the big thing that people should be taking away from this is that his win is that it's very concerning that you have people who have not necessarily been living here a long time, have not necessarily been highly invested in the country, and are often kind of sending money home and looking at this as a paycheck, who are voting for the future of our country and our society. And again, I should have said this at the beginning. I don't have this perspective that like every Muslim is bad. I met some Muslims that hate these people, their understanding and belief in Islam and these people's belief in Islam. And, to tie it back to that, to keep going with the history, this all is a lot to do with the view of like the Palestinians. A big reason that this stuff blew up, not literally blew up, but like, figuratively blew up in this world, was after the 1993 Oslo Accords. And they didn't like the fact that Yasser Arafat was trying to, or at least feigning willing to make peace with Yitzhak Rabin. So to go further into this stuff from GW, realizing the huge repercussions of the Oslo Agreement could have had not only on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, but also on activities inside the United States, the members of the committee decided to convene an extraordinary 3-day meeting in Philadelphia, held at the Marriott Hotel near the city's airport. Closed-door meeting was attended by 20 top leaders of the Hamas support network in the U.S. And like I was saying, this came out in trial. The FBI placed wiretaps inside the hotel, and got most of the conversations that happened behind these closed doors, and it came out in the HLF trial. Capone, YouTube is very difficult. Try typing in ways that are more inventive, or send a message on Discord, and if reasonable, I can keep an eye out for it. The IAP here on the left was represented by its president Omar Ahmed.
That's a good point by Anne. But you know,
read it out real quick. Sorry, I'm not looking.
The other scary thing is that they will take over because Muslims, on average, have more children than other groups.
Yeah, but I think that if you look into it, there's also a phenomenon of Muslims leaving the faith as they become westernized.
Well, I think this is one of the good points that Charlie Kirk always made was have children.
Mm-hmm.
Have children. And I think a lot of people didn't understand why he was always like, have children. Have children as a Christian so that you can raise a Christian family. And when they grow older, they can spread Christianity. Because if we don't have any kind of defense against another religion, now you have a civilization that's open to the mindset of it and it will accept it more. Whereas if you keep growing Christians, you have more of ground to stand on against another religion coming in and invading.
Well, this is one of the fundamental issues that I constantly see coming up with debates and things that I watch on different basically Christian theology and things like that versus like secular ideologies and how a country should be built. Sorry. And what I come back to is like liberalism on some level doesn't do a good job of being able to create any significant moral reasoning because it's very moral relative. And so it's very difficult for people that have the identity of I'm culturally Christian, but I don't necessarily hold these beliefs, strongly or practice it, to not say, oh, in America, we accept everybody regardless of what their religious beliefs are. So like, I don't have a problem with somebody being Muslim, but I have a problem with somebody who is an Islamist, who's a Salafi Muslim.
Yeah.
Even the Saudis have a problem with them.
I wonder if most Muslims, if they even know about this, this might be like I guess what you would say, like an Orthodox Islamic kind of thing, where it's like, their core values, like they run all the way with those ideas. And that's probably what we're seeing here, whereas you have, more, not so much Orthodox, like Muslim, like myself, like I'm not like an Orthodox style, like kind of Christian. Like I don't like do all that, but I do keep God in my heart all the time. And I do, I do most of, I don't go to church all the time. I watch my church sessions online if I attend to that, but
and it's more than a lot of people do.
Yeah, I mean, I keep that value within me, but I'm not like going door to door and trying to tell people and stuff. Which a lot of people seem to have a problem with that nowadays, and I think I don't know. I think we could be looking at maybe a culture war in the future here.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I think people think the culture war now is between the right and the left, but I think it's going to go deeper and be more of a religious culture war.
It might. I mean, if it makes you feel any better when it comes to, and this plays into what Capone was trying to say. He messaged me, but he was trying to say that the left is extremely subverted into supporting, this stuff without even realizing it. And I think that he's onto something there, and it shows. But you were talking about like childbirth rates and stuff. It shows in that the childbirth rates amongst the left is below replacement, whereas on the right politically and in the religious groups, even in Christian religious groups, it is at least a little bit above replacement rate. So the left is actively, like, on some level, taking itself out by not having kids.
Well, I think with the left, and I don't want to offend anyone here, but I think a lot of the people on the left are really just, honestly, they're the ones that they fell for the bait. They're the ones that are lost. They got brainwashed. They got sucked into the game, and now they're one of the sheep. And I think the right is more so, because of I think of a lot of religious value or more moral value, perhaps. We're a little bit more firm on our feet, and we don't fall for that kind of nonsense as much. And I think a lot of people on the right come from I would assume come from a more structural family too. I think a lot of people on the left, I would assume they come from a lot of broken homes. Maybe dad wasn't around in most of their lives, stuff like that. And that's another good point that Charlie Kirk always tried to make was, you got to have a father in the house. If you have a family, you got to have a father in the house, or else you get lost to society. You get lost to all these ideologies. And look what we have. We have a whole party now that's just completely gone and brainwashed, and now we have new threats that are hiding behind that curtain and manipulating even more to destroy Western civilization even more.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I bet you if we asked, people that are in the chat, even though it's not too many, I'll bet you most people would either say that they are religious on some level or that they were raised in some sort of religious background of some kind, regardless of what type of religion it is.
I mean, necessarily, it doesn't even know. Here's my thing. I didn't grow up in a household that was religious, but I think a lot of people that lean right, it only took maybe one influence in their lives, or something in their lives that pulled them in that direction. You know what I mean? So so it doesn't necessarily have to be the way you were brought up, I think, but because there's a lot of people where their parents are lefties and their kids are righties, and I'm ambidextrous now. I'm just kidding. But but I think it's about the people you surround yourself with and the people that you idolize in life that are gonna that's gonna be who you are when you're older, and it's gonna instill your beliefs in you.
100%. So to get back to the history stuff, so we were talking about this 1991 meeting that the FBI wiretapped. So the IAP, the reason I pulled up this picture here, was represented by its president at the time, Omar Ahmed, who ended up becoming one of the co-founders of CAIR. This is why I say it's so incestuous. Its director of public relations, the guy on the left, Nihad Awad.
Is that the guy that was in the picture with George Bush?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then you also have at this meeting the HLF founder and president. And here, I'll share this tab real quick. This guy down here at the bottom middle, who ends up becoming, these are the people who were convicted in the case against HLF. So
and the one white guy. No, there's two white guys.
Yeah, he is. There's some pictures I have.
That guy's
of him
really white.
Even
the bottom
whiter.
there.
Yeah,
he's.
There's an even whiter dude though. I'll pull him up. But and then the HLF founder and president Shukri Abu Bakr, whose brother Jamal Abu Bakr was the head of Hamas in Sudan and then later in Yemen. Like it's all there. And
That's wild.
And then this guy, the white guy on the left, his name is Ghassan Elashi, and he
I would never think that was his name.
His cousin was married to Marzouk, the guy that I was saying preceded Ismail Haniyeh as the political deputy chief of Hamas in Gaza. Like they're all cousins, they're all spouses, you're related. It's crazy. So they opened the meeting by giving instructions regarding security, and they wanted the participants to either call Hamas Sama, Hamas backwards, or the movement in their phone conversations, because they knew what they were doing was subversive and wrong. Real quickly, hello to Crazy Bee, Game Like a Mom. If anybody is interested, she and a friend of hers, D, do almost daily shows. I forget what exact days, but 4 or 5 days a week, something like that, talking about like regular politics stuff. Welcome, Pilot Man. So, like I say, they were specific about the necessity to frame their opposition, and this is what I was getting at before, in ways that would appeal to Americans. So, to quote them, I do. This is from the court case, from what the FBI wiretapped them saying. This is Shukri Abu Bakr talking, and says, "It does not benefit me to show the American people that I am against the accord because I hate Yasser Arafat and hate the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization that he ran. Instead of attacking the PLO in a personal and direct manner, they should speak about democracy and freedom of expression, concepts that are dear to Americans." And when we're talking, the video I was playing before of the CAIR Florida guy, that's exactly what he's saying. He's talking about how they're supporting democracy more than we are. Capone probably watched it, but in the debate that in one of the debates that I watched from Modern Day Debates last weekend about Islam versus Christianity, and what's better for society, the guy was literally doing the same thing, where he makes the argument that you should support Islam because it's pushing democracy and freedom of expression and is entirely American in its sense. And
What's
Abu
the
Bakr,
argument to back that up, though?
what's
What's
the
the
argument?
argument that it's democracy and it's so they think, in other words, they think that pushing their agendas on Western civilization is better for it than what we have going on now.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the things that is quoted from the FBI tapes is they were saying that, and this is an unidentified speaker, but somebody that was in the committee. They're just not sure who specifically said it, but playing a very important tune to the average American, which is the issue of democracy and the issue of representation. When you tell an American individual that, quote, this person is not elected, he's an oppressor, this is a dictatorial regime, and then he mentions Saddam Hussein, and they go on to talk about how this wins the Americans over. Abu Bakr acknowledged that it's this guy Shukri Abu Bakr, that you cannot say that I'm Hamas. Instead, you have to say if you're against peace, you're a terrorist. So they're trying to play on the American ideals for peace and self-expression, and trying to twist that to support their ideas, their needs.
So I'm looking here. So I mean, it's kind of funny that they think that their ideas and their beliefs are going to be a better way for America to live. But what I'm seeing here is like almost every single one, if not all of the Islamic countries on the planet, are all third world.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing pictures of like people living in like dirt houses and stuff. So
Yeah, I mean,
like,
outside of
what are you talking about? Like, did they not know what's going on over here? Like, we got people that are just like, do they do this and fucking making like millions of dollars? These people are out of their fucking minds, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, well, outside of Saudi Arabia and the UAE and Qatar, these countries that have oil money or old money, there's wealth isolated in the very, very wealthy and very rich and powerful in these countries. The princes, the princesses, the royal families, and then everybody else is essentially an indentured servant / slave class.
But yeah, but that little bit of wealth, what does that compare to the amount of wealth that we have in America?
I mean, Elon Musk might be the richest man, like they say, but I'm sorry, the Saudi Arabians princes have a lot more money and access to power.
So it's really just a control thing, is all. I mean, because if it wasn't, they would use that money for good.
It's oil money. That's what it really came down to, and they
while their people are suffering too. It's like,
yeah, if you're not in my understanding, if you're not in the like protected class, the leadership class, you're kind of SOL.
So my whole thing is, if they're wealthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why would they want to risk everything that they have in order to try and snake their way into our culture?
Well,
Why not just
they
kick
don't
back and let
necessarily
the
want to.
dollars?
So here, sorry to cut you off, but like this is something I was going to bring up later. But in 2002, the Saudi, one of the Saudi princes, Al-Walid ibn Talal, donated $500,000 to CAIR. So they're full of shit when they say they're not getting money from outside. And this Talal guy was tied to the Vegas shooting in 2017 and had owned floors of the Mandalay Bay. And here, let me, and I can share this real quick. And he had him arrested and thrown in prison because Mohammed bin Salman, the leader of Saudi Arabia, is trying to get rid of the Islamists. This is why the this is why the Abraham Accords are happening, is because the leadership in places like the UAE and Saudi Arabia want to have a Western style country of some kind, at least, or at least be able to maintain their wealth and power without it being attacked by Iranian backed Islamists. Like, people talk about Sunnis and Shia, and I always mix it up, but like the Hamas is one and the Iranians are the other. But why do the Iranians support the Hamas? Well, because they have a global jihad idea going against the West.
So they have common ground.
Yeah, I mean, this was built into the Muslim Brotherhood from this 1991 meeting. They came up with a two-pronged strategy that within the Muslim community, and they all agreed that the committee would maintain its support for Hamas undeterred, engaging in various activities to aid the organization, and then fundraise from the local communities. And so they created HLF, and one of the key activities was to try and funnel funds to Hamas that was designated for orphanages and needy children. And in the meeting, the FBI played at trial Abu Bakr saying, and here, let me put it back on the picture so everybody knows who we're talking about, because I have trouble keeping these names straight. That's why I have to like read off my notes. But Abu Bakr says, we give the Islamists $100,000, we give the others $5,000, outlining how the HLF plan would be to give the appearance of a charitable organization to avoid scrutiny from authorities, to, quote, maintain balance while staying in a legal track as far as charitable projects are concerned without going after a sentiment which could harm the foundation legally. And the U.S. authorities argue that HLF between 1990 and 2001 funneled $12 million to Hamas.
So it just keeps going deeper. It's like, it's undeniable. It's undeniable. Yeah, you went way deeper than I was thinking that you were going to go on it. But I'm glad you did. That's pretty wild stuff.
Yep. Still at this conference, 91, Ahmed, sorry. And he's the same person as Ahmad on there. It's just anglicizing these names is a little different.
The Ghostbusters guy.
Yeah. I didn't make that kind of association, but well done. See, we all have a use. But yeah, so he stressed the need to increase the committee's influence in Congress. Quote, this can be achieved by infiltrating American news outlets, universities, and research centers, he continued. It is also achieved by working with Islamic political organizations and the sympathetic ones such as the American Muslim Alliance, the United Muslims of America, the Muslim Public Affairs Council. If Muslims engage in political activism in America and start to be concerned with Congress and public relations, we will have an entry point to use them to pressure Congress and decision makers in America. And I forget where I saw this, but supposedly CAIR, the kind of new, name of this essentially same organization, boasts that they have had like thousands and thousands of media appearances over the years.
Like nonchalantly, or
on their own websites, they're very proud of it.
Yeah, I was on their website earlier today. I was checking it out. I was like, wow, these they're a pretty confident organization.
And there's some concern that they're not properly reporting their lobbying spending. So the dark lines in this graph are what is actually being reported, and the light blue line is what's estimated as what they're actually spending on lobbying. This comes from
Holy
a
hell.
federal government report.
Wow.
They supported No Kings, Prop 50. Um,
Well, it's a lot easier to take over a country filled with liberals than it is
Yep.
you know what I mean? So I guess that's why they're trying to amp that up.
And sorry, I took that off quick, but we're talking in the couple $1 million range as of the last few years.
Wow.
And
I really wish
again,
more mainstream media would cover stuff like this.
and I don't know why they don't. Other than either nobody's given the money to do it, or nobody cares.
Maybe they have
enough
no
to do it.
idea. Maybe we should send it. Maybe we should send this to Fox.
You can push it out there. They need to be talking to the guy who whose book I read and whose articles I'm quoting.
Yeah, absolutely.
The guy that I was talking about, Marzouk, who was the previous deputy political leader for Hamas in Gaza. He he was before that the U.S. Palestine committee head. They were published in editorials in the Washington Post, New York Times, Los Angeles Times, and you can look up their editorials, but they talk very differently there than they did in this stuff. Omar Ahmed saying, we can't as an American organization say we represent Sama. Remember, they had to say Hamas backwards. Can we get to the congressman and tell him, Omar Ahmed, chairman of the IAP, that Yasser Arafat doesn't represent me, but Hamas spiritual leader Sheikh Ahmad Yassin does. I swear by and then Abu Bakr responds, I swear by Allah, war is deception. We're fighting our enemy with a kind heart. Deceive, camouflage, pretend that you're leaving while you're walking away, deceive your enemy. While you're walking that way, deceive your enemy. Another unidentified speaker on the tapes highlighted that they need to make a new organization. Like I say, that ends up being CAIR. That will be an official U.S. cover representing the Islamic community, as well as a cover for the existing organizations in case they dissolve. And now to quote directly from Vidino from GW, in order to be able to continue their activities in the U.S., the participants agreed that the new organization, with no evidence ties to Hamas and operating in a way that would have made it appear as moderate in the eyes of Americans, should have been founded. The amended bylaws of the Palestinian Committee, drafted in 1991, had already similarly expressed the wish to establish one additional organization in the future. It is, quote, it is hoped that it will become an official organization for political work, and its headquarters will be in Washington, God willing, argued the document. Quote, it represents the political aspect to support the cause politically on the American front. The U.S. authorities, even in this court case, felt that this organization was CAIR, and they named it as a unnamed, co-conspirator, unconvicted co-conspirator. And like I say, these two dudes who came from IAP, from the Islamic Association of Palestine, who were saying all this stuff, end up starting CAIR just a few months later after the Philadelphia meeting that we've been quoting from. And like I say, the IAP president and Omar Ahmed and the public relations director Nihad Awad become the chairman emeritus and executive director for CAIR. And then there's this guy. I couldn't, the old pictures weren't able to pull up so well. So this guy is named Rafiq Jabbar. He was the
Looks uncomfortable.
IAP president, and he became the founding director of CAIR. And then this is the white guy I was talking about. He was a former employee for IAP, and he became CAIR's director of communications, and he loves to boast about all of his, TV showings. And it's interesting, depending on where he's at, he either dresses more in the with the beard and everything, and the yarmulke thing, the skull cap thing, or he dresses more Americanized. The treasurer of the HLF, a guy named Ghassan Elawashi, is involved, and he ends up becoming caught up and convicted in the HLF or HLF court case. But he was a founding member of CAIR's Texas chapter, and transferred money from IAP to CAIR for consulting fees. And the reality is unlike IAP and unlike the other Muslim Brotherhood stuff, CAIR had a lot of success, and it basically came down to a combination of their activism, their facade of moderatism, being moderate, and it became the de facto group for the American Muslim community, to the point that there are, Muslims today who don't even know this history.
I wonder if this whole thing I would suspect has a lot to do with 9/11, whether it was an actual attack or whether it was an inside job to get us to be weary of this.
I don't know enough to say. I mean, I couldn't find anything in this that ties directly to 9/11.
Well, I mean, you got these organizations that started up, and then not too long after, you have 9/11. And that's another piece that fits pretty well, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
I mean, that's like really radical. Al Qaeda was I would say, a really radical Islamic group.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know enough to say, but like I say, we definitely touched on it a little bit, but as Dee is saying, Zarmandani is connected to CAIR 100%. And that activist that he's supporting, Aber Kawas, I can't remember if she's the woman that I mentioned on my last stream that I did when you were not around, Ren. But she's been in there's this woman who he's supporting for state assemblyman or role, who's been in the country for less than a year and has openly talked about, Islamism stuff in the past.
This has been going on, yeah.
But uses all the right buzzwords.
So they're playing the game, and they're winning a little bit. They got their little wins in there.
Yeah. I mean, people need to wake up.
It's scary to think about that. I mean, that's a big thing. And if that blows up in the wrong way, that's bad, man.
Yeah, I have a lot of fear about this stuff. Because I think people are too easily distracted by whatever their TikTok says. And it's not lost on me that you have these Islamist groups, and suddenly in the last few years, like Israel or don't, you have this massive push of anti-Israel rhetoric on the right that seems to be somewhat associated with these same groups.
It's pretty. When you look at some of the things that are starting to happen in the country, we have. Look at all the social media we have, and now, and how many states, people are just, all they do all day is sit on social media and smoke weed. It's these are people that are not going to know what's going on, and it's a lot of people. And you put and look at all the nudity and stuff that you see all over the social media. I mean, it's just disgusting, and it seems like now you think about it, it's probably all just distraction kind of garbage, just to keep you, let them come in under the shade of night, and it's just wild to think about.
Well, so these are the defendants from the HLF case, and what's interesting is that when you look at the CAIR website about these people, they imply that they weren't actually convicted. I think it was from the CAIR website that I saw that. Meanwhile, the guy in the bottom middle, the HLF founder and CEO, Shukri al-Bakar, who we read all those quotes from, He gets sentenced to 65 years in federal prison, convicted on 31 counts, including conspiracy to provide material support to a designated foreign terrorist organization, Hamas, conspiring to commit money laundering, and filing a false tax return. He's currently serving his sentence and remains incarcerated. Ghassan Elashi on the bottom left also got sentenced to 65 years in federal prison and he was the chairman, and he gets convicted for the same conspiracy and material support counts, plus an additional count of filing false tax returns. They should have learned from Al Capone. You always file your tax returns. That's how they get you. And he's still in prison. Then the guy on the top middle, Mufid Abdulkader, yeah, I'm sorry. Not my
You're doing
skill.
pretty good, man. If this was me reading this, oh my God, it'd be the whole alphabet.
And he's the HLF Projects and Grants Director, and he got sentenced to 20 years in federal prison for conspiracy to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization, and subsequent counts of providing material and support to a foreign terrorist organization.
Now, these are members of CAIR.
Not all of them, but they were all connected by the IAP connection, if you remember.
Okay. And that's what I was reading up on earlier was, so, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, so they're all connected through this IAP stuff. And like I say, IAP is who had that meeting that talked about how we need to essentially form an organization, which they're not going to name, but looks a lot and sounds a lot and acts a lot like CAIR, and starts a couple months after by the same people that were at the meeting. And then you have the guy on the left, Abdulrahman Odeh. He got sentenced to 15 years. And he was convicted on the same counts as the project director and grants director, foreign terrorist stuff. He supposedly was released in 2020. And I never looked into it, but I don't know if that was part of like the Biden releases or if like he got paroled or whatever. And then the guy on the top right, Mohammed El Mazain, who was the HLF director of endowments, got 15 years and was convicted on a single count of conspiracy to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization, and reportedly was released in 2022.
Wow. Just wow.
And then, like I say, so one other thing to kind of talk about briefly with this is the Obama administration didn't designate, you don't need that anymore, chose not to designate CAIR as a foreign terrorist organization, even though it was a unindicted co-conspirator and all these people are connected. And their basic justification, but let me see here. They basically, to be named a foreign terrorist organization specifically, you have to be foreign, you have to engage in terrorist activity, or attain the capability and intent to do so, and you have to threaten the security of U.S. nationals. And so the official U.S. position, and again, Trump didn't change this, Obama didn't change this, nobody has, is that CAIR is domestically founded, and it's a 501c3 nonprofit that's accepting only American money. But again, there's evidence to suggest that this might not really be the case. And although its origins lie, and this is from like something John Kerry wrote, but even though its origins lie in foreign terrorist groups, it is openly operates in the U.S. It operates as a civil rights and advocacy group, not as a foreign terrorist organization. And then finally, despite its connection to the Holy Land Fund, who we've been talking about in that court case, they say that it's not sufficient enough to label it as foreign, so we're not going to call it a foreign terrorist organization. So I would say that the Trump response needs to be, so make it a domestic terrorist organization.
Yeah.
And I guess the last little bit I was going to mention was, and we can definitely come back to this at some point and look into it more. But there was a report that came out just last week exposing how $27 million in taxpayer money that was given to CAIR California was basically funneled circularly back into itself through other CAIR organizations. And it was supposed to go for Afghan refugees, and the bit that was used was not actually used for that.
I wonder where that went.
I have no idea, but
U.S. government funding,
Act Blue.
yeah.
But yeah, so it was. I think they came down to saying that it's like $7 million of the 27 million are just kind of not really sure where it is now. From the report,
That's all their black funding, like deep hidden bullshit.
I mean, a bunch of it gets used for lobbying.
Just like all the money we can't track in the U.S. How much was it? It was like 40 billion or something like that dollars. I don't know where the hell it went. Forget exactly the number, but
yeah. So that's why I say like it gets funneled into lobbying and gets funneled into this like circular providing money back to yourself. But yes, this is from Rare. The Rare Foundation is the ones that published this. Here, I'll show it real quick. I got a little bit of time. That was kind of the extent of what I had prepared for. But if anybody's around and wants to call in or chit chat a little bit on stream with us, got about 20 minutes or so before I got a hard out. You can DM me or Ren on. We'll keep going for a bit, but if anybody wants to join, send me or Ren a DM on Discord, and I'll get you a link so we can make it happen. But yeah, so this is the newest kind of thing that's come out, and then like I was mentioning, the other thing that was being reported on that I looked into a little bit was that CAIR was giving money to, and Glenn Beck had posted some stuff about this to anti-Israel protest people. And thank you, D. I mentioned this before, but I forgot to bring it up. But the Governor Greg Abbott in Texas declared CAIR a terrorist organization, and we can look at that real quick if people want.
Yeah, well, so he doesn't have the ability to actually do it, so it's more of like he's just kind of saying it.
Yeah. But so this is what he wrote. Pursuant to his powers as governor of the state of Texas, Greg Abbott has issued the following: a proclamation designating the Muslim Brotherhood and CAIR as foreign terrorists and transnational criminal organization under the Texas Penal and Texas Property Codes. And he goes through, like I say, the CAIR members and associated people who have had terrorist-related convictions. Ghassan El-Ashi, we mentioned. Abram Al-Moudi, we talked about, the speaking about how he's supporter of Hamas and Hezbollah. We didn't talk about this guy, Randall Todd Royer, a communication specialist and civil rights coordinator for CAIR, who was sentenced to 20 years in prison in April 2004 for conspiring to aid al-Qaeda and the Taliban. We talked about this guy, Bassem Khafagi. And he pled guilty to, or no, actually we didn't, but he pled guilty to federal bank and visa fraud in 2003 for funneling money to terrorists.
I would put money that these people had something to do with, with 9/11, with getting these people on the planes to begin with. I mean, how does something like that even happen unless you got people on the inside? Well, here's your people right here.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, like I say, you can just go down the list. They give more people. Yeah, somebody was asking me about the Florida House Democrat who allegedly stole $5 million from FEMA. I did have that article. I was gonna include it in this show when we were just doing it as a news roundup. But I figured when this turned into a little bit of a deep dive on CAIR, we'd hold off on that until another time.
I don't care.
But you don't care about people stealing stuff?
No, you get it. Care? I don't
Oh,
care.
you don't care. You don't care. All right. Sorry. I'm dumb. Okay.
A little late, RB. It's all right. It's a work week.
There you go. I don't remember where I put it, but yeah, I had that pulled up at one point. I might have DM'd it to you. I really don't remember. I might have it saved in here somewhere ways back.
What are you looking for?
Oh yeah, here you go. Oh no, that's not what I was looking for. But yeah, I'd seen that story for sure. No, somebody messaged me and asked me about the $5 million thing in Florida that I was talking about for a second. I mean, I'm sure to respond to a game like Mom, I'm sure there are some people who are in CAIR that are not, awful people or whatever. But at least their leadership sure seems to be in on it to me.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think it's probably a leadership, a corruption.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have a lot of concern, and like when I looked into some of the other things that I've done more deep diving on,
Found it.
it just becomes more and more apparent the more you look that there's a active attempt to radicalize in this country, and it's it's really unfortunate that you have these outside forces that are pushing this, and everybody just kind of acts like, oh, you're judging, that makes you the bad guy, that makes you intolerant, that makes you evil on some level. I'm sure there's more that I didn't even find to touch on that was concerning too. I wouldn't be surprised if there's things that I missed in my research into this that I'll find like 2 days from now.
I'm sure there's so many pieces to the puzzle, and you're just on the tip of the iceberg right now. I mean, there's probably people I'm sure have gone way farther down it.
Mm-hmm.
But good work. Kudos to you.
Yeah. Probably gonna. Yeah. No, it's scary stuff. It's definitely concerning.
You get out there, you buy some guns. If you haven't got them already. You guys
Or
arm
if you have too many. Some of us have too many.
Teach your offspring about Jesus Christ, and get ready for the future.
Yep. No, and I can't help but think that so much of this is being funded when you see things like, a bunch of people from the Democrat Party coming out, making the same statements, or, putting out these videos, pushing certain things. Again, like, all the kind of right Civil War stuff, very much seems contrived to me.
Game Like a Mom says I have some pew pews, but I need more.
You can never have enough.
It's really not about the amount of guns you have, it's about the amount of ammunition, I think. You can have 20 guns you can have one bullet in the meat, you ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, no. And I saw that I know D and Game Like a Mom were talking about this on their show. But this came out ironically in the last like 24 hours, is an investigative piece by Chris Rufo, and I forget who the other author on it is, but how funds that were earmarked for autism related care were funneled to Al-Shabaab, which is a African terror organization connected to all these same groups, part of the global jihad network. And that's your taxpayers right there.
Wow.
I forget the exact number, but they said it was like millions of dollars.
And it's supposed to be funding for autism.
Yeah, it's supposed to be autism-related care, and they had basically people who were claiming they had like kids that were autistic that they signed up for these programs.
Now you got to go farther into the rabbit hole and see how many of these people might be tied to vaccine companies that are causing the autism.
And here's something that somebody just sent me about CAIR that I, overlooked, but CAIR is tied to the San Bernardino jihadist shootings in 2015. CAIR's documented association with the Islamic Center of Riverside, the mosque where the 2015 San Bernardino shooters, Syed Rizwan Farouk and Tashfeen Malik, worshipped and were radicalized before they attacked 14 people at a holiday party in San Bernardino, that shooting. Yeah, I mean, it all comes back to, like I said before, the modus operandi is say one thing publicly because your enemies are too stupid to see through it, and then do something else privately.
Oh, so they got the psyche part of it going. So just blatantly say it so that it doesn't look believable.
But yeah, here you go. I found the portion on the and here they just sent me the rest of it. The specific connection revolves around Hussam Ayloush, the executive director of CAIR's Greater Los Angeles chapter, who they're part of the whole California kickback program I was just talking about before, where their money is going in cycles. I will. That's not what I'm reading. I'll read that in a second. Covering the region where the 2015 San Bernardino attack occurred, and long-standing role in the Islamic Center of Riverside, the mosque where they attended for a decade. 14 killed, 22 injured. He was radicalized through sermons and associations that promoted anti-Western jihadist ideologies. But no, this is what I was looking at. Was this is a clip or screenshot from that article on the Minnesota Welfare Fund. But in a press release announcing the indictment, the U.S. Attorney's Office made clear that the alleged autism fraud scheme extended to a wide network of people. Quote, to drive up enrollment, Hassan and her partner paid monthly cash kickback payments to the parents of children who were enrolled, the press release reads. These kickback payments range from approximately $300 to $1,500 per month per child. The amount of these payments was contingent on services DHS authorized a child to receive. The higher the authorization amount, the higher the kickback. Often the parents threatened to leave and take their children to other autism centers if they did not get paid higher kickbacks. Much like with the HASS program, autism claims to Medicaid in Minnesota skyrocketed in recent years from 3 million in 2018 to 54 million in 2019, 77 million in 2020, 183 million in 2021, 279 million in 2022, and 399 million in 2023. Meantime, the number of autism providers in the state spiked from 41 to 328 over the same period, with many in the Somali community establishing their own autism treatment centers, citing the need for, quote, culturally appropriate programming. By the time the fraud scheme was exposed, 1 in 16 Somali 4-year-olds in the state had reportedly been diagnosed with autism, a rate more than triple the state's average.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, there you go. Ryan Thorpe and Chris Rufo.
Well, look, you see the autism level in the United States has skyrocketed in the last 20 years. Like, absolutely skyrocketed.
Well, and as D mentions, like, they were covering this earlier. I didn't have a chance to watch. I'm sorry, I'll watch in the replay, guys. But these kids didn't even have autism. They were just taking advantage of the system for financial reasons. I wonder how much of that is going on with the drive up in autism rates is, Medicare and Medicaid fraud.
Yeah. We'll have to do more on that part too. We'll have to go down that rabbit hole a little bit. I wouldn't even call it a rabbit hole anymore. I was just saying, just a pile of shit that's laying in front of us that's real and true.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you do want to look into that at all, I have a couple of good articles that I have to reread to cover them, but I could share them with you and we could cover it
make a show
together.
out of it.
Looking at the data analysis behind the rates of increased autism.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
We'll have to read it very autistically.
If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up in the chat. You guys want to see a show on that?
YouTube won't give us a hard time. I think we could get away with that one on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because I won't be claiming that Tylenol caused it. But I'm a proud Tylenol American, okay?
Oh, I love my Tylenol.
I'm a proudly vaccinated Tylenol American. That's what makes me special.
Vaccinated Tylenol.
Game
like a mom just thumbs up, literally writes it out.
Look, she can see through your failed attempt to try to get some engagement, some chat engagement.
That is a failed attempt right there.
Gotta do better. Okay, everybody.
I think we lost a lot of our audience.
Yeah, from that one comment alone. All right, everybody.
Next episode we'll have some juicier, more exciting. No, I'm just kidding. Arby did a really good job tonight. Really proud of my man over here. Did some good stuff, man.
Yeah. Well, look, it was a lot of fun. I like doing these deep dives. My goal is to get us to a point where we can maybe do like one deep dive a week, and then regardless of who sort of is driving it, and one kind of just like shoot the shit, kind of go over some news stories sort of show.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
And like I mentioned, my thought was if we do like the kind of news roundup sort of show, we kind of make that a call-in show too. So if people are ever interested in calling in or joining us, we're always down to have friends.
Absolutely. Even if it's an audio, you don't have to be on camera or anything.
Yeah, you don't have to show your face. You don't have to be on camera. You can just be an avatar. You'll just get judged mercilessly if you are an avatar.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. But you'll get blown up big, and we'll just sit in tiny little in the corner. See, I'll make Ren all tiny.
That's fine.
Nah. Yeah. We should praise Ilhan Omar. She's a gem for the Somali homeland. But yeah, I guess with that we'll call it quits. Play the intro out, and to quote my friend Crazy B, Game Like a Mom, what is it? Everybody stay safe. I lost the rest of it. I don't remember. Stay sane.
Stay sane and spread the good word.
Get lots more pew-pews.
Yeah.
And don't forget they need ammo.
They need ammo. And make sure they're legal.
All righty. Y'all have a good night. I'm going to hit the intro and then we'll shut her down. It was a pleasure. Thanks for joining. See
y'all next time.
And if anybody on the replay side has any thoughts, feel free to throw a comment up, and I will do my best to try to remember to post some of the links to some of these sources in the chat when I have an opportunity. Y'all take care. Have a good night.